please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, good morning. This is Chartbusters, a show where we highlight all the buzzing stocks of the day, get you expert advice on how to capitalize and trade on those stocks. All that packed in the next half an hour. I'm Mangla Malu. With me is Nigel D'Souza. For the markets, the Nifty opened with a cut and now we're seeing a bit of recovery for both the Nifty as well as the Sensex. The mid-cap index for a very brief period also moved into the green as we speak, and the Nifty Bank still continues to sulk for a bit. But we're getting some visuals which are coming in from Vedanta's 53rd annual general meeting, so we will keep an eye out on that. Perhaps dip in for a bit once the management starts to speak as well. But for the markets, if you take a look at the advanced decline ratio, still 1:1. Important news on NMDC. Nigel, they've hiked their prices.
Yeah, that's right, Manglam. It's pretty good news actually for them. They've hiked prices by around 150 rupees. We have been talking about on the channel that pellet prices are going up, steel prices are going up as well. So the raw material price as well has gone up. If you look at it on fines, it's up by nearly around 5.5%. On lumps, it's up by around 4.5%. We'll have to keep an eye out on the offtake though. That's the most important part for NMDC. But this clearly is a positive for NMDC because, you know, the prices weren't moving up, your dispatches as well weren't picking up. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But effective today, prices are hiked by around 150 rupees.
All right, so we will keep an eye out on that. Also keep an eye out on individual stocks. First up, all the top stories that we're tracking this morning. Hexaware, that one ranks in trade after 2.8 crore shares worth nearly 1,250 odd crore rupees trade in multiple blocks at an average of 440 rupees a piece. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that Bearings Private Equity likely to have sold 8.5% stake in Hexaware via that block deal.
And the buzz for the new Axis CEO gets louder after HDFC Standard Life's Amitabh Chaudhary sells 2.5 lakh shares between August 20th to 21st. Top banking sources reveal that Amitabh Chaudhary is likely to head Axis Bank.
Apollo Hospitals gets a boost from Nomura's bullish call on the stock. Nomura maintains buy, raises target to 1,340 rupees on the stock, expects 25% growth in EBITDA over FY18 to FY21.
And L&T announced a 9,000 crore rupee buyback yesterday. The L&T's MD and CEO tell CNBC TV18 that they will maintain their revenue growth guidance for FY19. Okay, all right. Keep an eye out on that news piece as well about NMDC hiking prices. I'm trying to get you a sense of what are pellet prices as well. I understand overnight that in fact pellet prices as well have gone through the roof. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that front as well. For the time being, yes, NMDC is moving higher, but other stocks as well, like a Godavari Power and ISPA, that stock as well is up nearly around 5%, telling you there's a bit of a shortage in terms of high quality pellets, you know, as well as iron ore, and that explains why, in fact, some of these stocks are moving higher. You know, in the last few days, actually, Godavari Power and Ispat, if I'm not mistaken, in this month itself, it could be up by nearly around 10%. I think we should pull up our last month, 1 month chart, or maybe a last week as well. That stock has moved higher, nearly 35% in the last 1 month. And in the last week, I'm pretty sure that it's up nearly around 10%. Okay, let's give you the trade on the Nifty then. We have Ashwini Gujral who joins in. Hi Ashwini, thanks so much for joining in. What's the trade on the Nifty? The Nifty Bank suddenly has moved to the low point of the day. We're down roughly around 90 points.
See, the sense I'm getting is that this crude situation is getting a bit worse. And now the Bank Nifty actually tried to rally in the morning. And it's held on to levels which indicate that there is a bit of a downtrend which is on Bank Nifty. Nifty still, you know, it's holding that 50-60 point range from 11,550 to 11,620 thereabouts. But I think financials could have a down day again. So right now, maybe Bank Nifty you can again sell into, because now it appears that 27,800, 850 could be the next range on Bank Nifty. Now, having said that, I think individual stocks, Jain Irrigation is a sell with a stop of 77, target of 71. Chola Mandalam is a buy with a stop of 1460, target of 1510. And Voltas is a buy with a stop of 619, target of 635.
All right, Ashwini, important point that you make as far as the Nifty Bank is concerned, currently at the low point of the day, which is taking the Nifty itself to the low point of the day as well. Yesterday we had Reliance and the others batting for the bulls. Let's see whether someone can bat today as well. However, Ashwini, a word on Avenue Supermarts. That stock should come up for you. In the first hour of trade, we rarely see 2 lakh shares trading on that counter. We've seen big volumes and that stock's moved to the high point of the day. Any view on this one?
See, basically consumption has done very well, so I guess this is one of the leaders in that group. But overall, it's been moving sideways between this 1500, 1650 zone. So anytime it comes closer to 50-day moving average, it's a good buy. And I think if this macro situation gets into trouble, chances are a lot of consumption stocks will have to do heavy lifting. So it's a good buy at this situation, and possibly you could see 1650 in the days to come.
All right, 1650 on Avenue Supermarts in the days to come. Thanks a lot for that, Ashwini. We'll keep coming back to you all through the course of the day. With that, we move to the next story. IDBI Federal Life stake sale is on the back burner. Burner is the word coming in from Vignesh Sahane of IDBI Federal Life in conversation with our colleague Yash Jain. Here's an excerpt of that chat.
Now, with both those potential buyers, Max Life as well as Aditya Birla Sun Life backing out, is that stake sale process out of the window completely, or is there any sort of possibility of restarting it in the short to medium term?
Yash, for the last 15 months I used to get a lot of phone calls, 3 phone calls a day from you, your colleagues in other publications asking me what's happening. But the last 4 months I've not got any call from anybody, so I presume it's on the back burner.
Okay.
No one called me regarding the stake sale. No one from the media has called me for the last 4 months, so I presume it's on the back burner.
Right. Any possibility that you see of restarting that at any point?
Well, that's a shareholder decision. That's totally shareholder discussion, debate, and discussion.
Right. In your understanding, was it the 2 potential buyers backing out of the deal, or was it the entry of LIC when it comes to the parent bank which led to the end of road when it comes to the stake sale for IDBI Federal Life?
I think both happened at the same time.
Right.
So I think around the same time. So it could be a combination of both things.
Okay. Speaking about the valuation for IDBI Federal Life, according to the reports, that was somewhere around 6,000 crore.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to compare this particular transaction to a transaction which happened just around the same time, which was India First Life Insurance.
Yeah.
About 8,000 bank assurance branches, and that valued the company at around 2,700 crore, whereas here for about 3,000 or slightly over 3,000 bank branches, the valuation was 6,000 crore.
Right.
Do you think somewhere the company was overvalued?
See, I think we had a high embedded value.
Right.
This is because of a lot of things we've done right over the last 10 years. We focused on the right parameters of business. And I think valuation, which is the multiple of the EV, is a commercial decision.
Right, absolutely.
It's between the buyer and the seller. It's how badly the buyer wants to buy the franchise and how badly the seller wants to sell.
But the contrast was surprising in terms...
It did surprise me, yes. From my limited understanding, it did surprise me, yes.
Okay. As far as any talks of merging IDBI Federal Life with LIC is concerned, now that LIC has a majority stake in IDBI Bank, are there any such discussions or thoughts?
I've not heard of any such thing. I have not heard of any such thing.
As far as LIC and IDBI Federal Life as a step-down subsidiary is concerned, do you think it would make sense for LIC at some point of time to grow business here at IDBI Federal Life also, and at some point of time list IDBI Federal Life on the exchanges?
Again, yes, with the selfish interest, I would say yes, but it's completely a shareholder decision. I would like to believe that they think in these lines, but it's their decision at the end of the day.
All right, that's as far as the IDBI Federal Life chat is concerned. With that, we'll sit into a short break, but come back and we have Dabur. That stock is trading at a record high, up 40% this year, very close to the 90,000 crore in terms of market cap. Things, how are they looking after the management's analyst meet that took place over the last 48 hours? We have Mr. Krishnan Sambamurthy from Motilal Oswal as well as Mr. Sunil Duggal from Dabur on the other side of this break. Stay tuned to this special conversation. Welcome back. This is Chartbusters, and the stock that has been busting the charts all through this year, Dabur, that is the one on our radar right now. The stock trading at a record high, up almost 40% this year, and most of that has come just in the last couple of months after a strong first quarter results. Brokerages too positive on the stock after the company held its analyst meet a couple of days ago. To discuss this and more, we have with us the CEO of Dabur, Mr. Sunil Duggal, the man of the moment. As well as joining us in the studio, we have Krishnan Samamurthy, the VP Research and Consumer Analyst at Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in. Mr. Duggal, thanks a lot, as well as Krishnan. Thank you for joining us in our studio. So first we'll go to Mr. Duggal himself. You know, there's a lot of excitement with regards to your strategy going forward in the small brands. The one line that stood out from your analyst meet was your strategy to grow small brands, where you will invest disproportionately in 3 brands every year to grow them a lot more. So what are the 3 brands that you've selected for this year? How much money are you going to invest in them? And what revenues do you expect from them?
This year we've selected actually 2 brands, not 3, because there's not enough time to roll out 3. And the 2 brands which we selected are Honitus and Lal Tel. These are the brands which will see a disproportionate amount of support and hopefully a disproportionate amount of delivery in terms of sales.
So what kind of revenues do these 2 brands do right now, and what do you expect them to do going forward?
See, Lal Tel does around 100 crores and Honitus around 50. I don't have precise numbers here. We're just testing the scalability of these brands. So in a sense, it will set the context for our future strategy. But we will be putting in significantly enhanced inputs behind these 2 brands this year. And let's see how the brands respond. And then maybe we'll have to iterate a little bit, see what's going right, what's not going right, before we get the final picture, which we can then extend to the other brands.
All right, Mr. Duggal, sir, you've guided for double-digit volume growth for the next 3 quarters. If you could give us a sense about from which product will it come? From honey will it come from? From honey will it come from, or will it come from hair care?
I think it will be secular. No one product can drive a double-digit growth. It has to come across all segments. Of course, there will be some brands which may not grow as fast as the others. So it'll come from both the HPC.
Which ones do you think will not grow as much as the others?
It's hard to say, but you know, we have a couple of brands in oral care, one brand in oral care which is not doing too well. And we have plans to revive it, but might take a little bit of time for that to happen.
What brand is that, sir?
But other than this one brand Babool, which is last 2-3 quarters not been growing. And then, of course, a lot depends upon the winter season. If the winter is very mild, we may not see great growth happening in our winter portfolio like Chyawanprash, etc., because that is dependent upon the temperatures. But other than that, I think we'll see growth everywhere. If you saw the first quarter results, you saw a very secular growth happening out of HPC, HC, and most importantly, food and beverage, which was lagging behind in the earlier quarters. So I think that the trend will continue. As of now, I don't see any soft spots in our portfolio other than 1 or 2 brands which are not very strategic in our scheme of things.
All right, you spoke about the brand which you're not expecting to do too well. Which is the brand do you think will outperform this year?
Well, I think Red continues its great trajectory. Hair oils has been a bit of a surprise. We've seen great growth in hair oils. Beverages has revived very strongly after we put in extra inputs in the first quarter. You saw around 25% growth in beverages. So now some of these will continue to grow very fast, some of them may not. That, like I said, depends upon a multitude of factors. But overall, double-digit growth can only happen if a very substantial part of your portfolio fires. If it doesn't, then that kind of growth is unlikely.
Okay, all right. Mr. Duggal, you know, we have a special guest with us in the studio. He's going to give us his view on the FMCG space, but he also wants to put a couple of questions across to you. Krishnan, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Sunil, Sure. Just one query. Amla is a large category for you, and you've seen some market share losses over the last couple of years. And it's a fairly significant brand for you. So what's your strategy there? How do you hope to recoup market share from these levels?
See, the good news from the Amla and its collateral hair oils front is that we've been actually rapidly regaining share. We are close to our peak levels, and the share gains actually have been quite dramatic, and I expect them to continue. We've re-engineered the whole strategy behind Amla, put in flanker brands like Sarso Amla, etc., etc., and that's working very well for us. We're also getting great growth from the coconut portfolio, both Anmol as well as the Anmol value-added products. And that was a very small part of our hair oils business, but now it's assuming some significance. And it's growing extremely fast on the back of market share gains. So hair oils is really the star in many ways, because it's a large portfolio which has been, in a sense, not growing as much as it should have, but for the last 3 or 4 quarters, it's shown strong resilience and growth.
And still, you've shown very strong growth in rural wholesale. I believe you grew by 24% in Q1. The base is weak going forward as well. How do you see the prospects? Do you see a possibility of strong growth for the rest of the year as well?
Yes, I think it will continue, because one of the reasons it is growing so fast is that the urban wholesale is declining. And urban wholesale is now just 22% of our business. Around a year ago, it was 24% of our business. So the issues related to GST, demonetization, and now the e-way bill have had a huge negative impact on urban wholesale. We were prepared for this. We saw it coming, so we put in investments in rural wholesale. We extended the super stockist network. We cleaved the whole portfolio down the middle into healthcare and personal care, and added a few hundred more people to drive that. And all that has paid very good dividends. So therefore, the rural wholesale is now ahead of urban wholesale. It never was the case in the past. And therefore, our rural franchise is growing quite strongly.
Right, Mr. Dugal, we'll have to ask you to hang in for a bit. Just a second, we're getting some breaking news. NCLAT has refused to stay Tata Sons conversion into a private company. So we were awaiting some details on this at around 10:30. That is what has come by.
Yeah, I think Ashmit's telling us some more details. NCLT has restricted Tata Sons from acting under Article 75B, I think, of the Articles of Association. Over there, in fact, they're saying that NCLT restricts Tata Sons from passing a resolution to affect the sale of Mystery shareholding. So we'll try to get in Ashmit and fill us in with more details. But as of now, these are the lines that are flashing on the screen. I think we have Ashmit with us. Ashmit, come and tell us, what did the NCLAT have to say?
Well, the big grievance that Cyrus Mystery, with which he had moved to the NCLAT, was the immediate prayer is that Tata Sun transition from a deemed public limited company to a private limited company should be halted. Now, there are 2 takeaways as of right now. The reason for Cyrus Mystery seeking that prayer or seeking that remedy essentially is that once Tata Sons is held to be a private limited company, then under the Articles of Association that govern the relationship between the shareholders and the company, then under Tata Sons being a private limited company, the Articles of Association would allow for Tata Sons to pass a resolution, for the board of Tata Sons to pass a resolution under Article 75, wherein they can ask a minority shareholder to sell the shares, I beg your pardon, that they have in the company. Now, fearing perhaps a potential ouster, Cyrus Mystery had then moved the NCLAT, whereby he had sought for a stay on this entire transition. Now, as far as today's orders are concerned, there are 2 important takeaways. As far as the transition itself is concerned, keep in mind that the ROC has already passed an order which has now held Tata Sons to be a private limited company. As far as that order is concerned, regarding the transition, the NCLAT has refused to stay that, as the NCLAT has held. So that's a broader question that needs further consideration. But as of right now, no orders have been passed to that. What that effectively means is that no stay of the ROC order that has led to Tata Sons transitioning from being a deemed public to a private limited company, which brings us to the bigger takeaway. As far as Cyrus Mystery is concerned, what we understand is that the NCLAT has granted interim protection. Interim protection by way of a clear order that restrains Tata Sons from passing any resolution under Article 75, whereby they could potentially ask a minority shareholder to sell their stake. So as of right now, at least for the pendency of this case, no action can be taken under Article 75, but nonetheless, the broader questions regarding the transition still remain pending before the NCLAT.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Ashmit, for joining in and filling us up with all those details. With that, we'll step into a short break. Request Mr. Dugal as well, Krishnan, to stay with us. We will continue our conversation just after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Still in conversation with Mr. Dugal, and we have Mr. Krishnan as well, who's with us in the studio. So let's take that conversation forward, gentlemen. Well, Mr. Dugal, coming across to you, your chairman had earlier spoken of your entry into the food segment. Any development there? What category are you looking to enter? If you could give us a sense about some launch pipeline as well. And just throwing this at you, will you buy Horlicks or Complan?
We are not in the race for any of these brands at the moment because I think we have our own new product agenda and perhaps other types of acquisition targets which are more in the nature of emerging categories rather than, let's say, very mature categories in which the malted food space is. As far as our foods initiatives are concerned, we at this point in time expect it to be largely restricted to the beverage space. And within beverages, we'll seek opportunities, within the fruit-based beverages, of course. We'll seek opportunities in value-added products which deliver healthcare benefits and are a little bit futuristic in terms of the composition rather than commoditized. So going forward, I won't rule out further foray into foods, but we do have a culinary business which is small but definitely shows potential. Whether we'll invest significantly behind it at this point in time, the answer is probably no. In the future, I don't have any clear answer to that issue.
Mr. Duggal, a yes-no answer before a question before we let you go, sir. Has competition from Patanjali come off?
Well, generally, disruptive competition has come off. I think that shows in our growths in areas where the category growths were impacted. They are back to normal now.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much, Mr. Duggal, for joining in and filling us in with that. Well, Krishnan, final word from you. What about United Spirits, United Breweries? You're confident you're positive on those stocks?
We are positive on both. We like United Breweries better. The consistency of earnings has been better. And they've been delivering on their targets.
That was quite a segue, you know, from Chyawanprash, go to beer.
No, I just want to ask, it's a Friday, right? You need to get that Friday move in.
All right. Thanks a lot, Krishnan, for joining us in the studio. Thank you, Mr. Duggal, for giving us your outlook as well. With that, it's a wrap on Chartbusters. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18. Trading Hour comes up next.